Hello everyone! In this lesson, we will learn about user accounts in WordPress. To be more specific, here's what we're going to cover. First, we will learn how to change your author name that gets displayed on the front end of your website. After that, we will learn how to add or customize your avatar or profile photo. So that way, depending on your theme, you can have a little photo of yourself appear next to all of your posts. After that, we will learn how to create new additional accounts for your friends or coworkers. So that way, your website can have multiple authors. And finally, we will work to understand the different user roles that are available in WordPress, right? Because maybe we do want to invite a friend or coworker to help contribute to our website, but we don't want that person to have full administrative access to customize anything and everything on our website. Without further ado, let's start with our first goal, which is to learn how to change the author name that gets displayed on our posts. So for example, here's the home page of my website, and if I navigate to the recipes category archive, and then if I click on any of these posts, so Greek salad or homemade French bread, once I click on one of them, I'm taken to the detail screen for just that one single post. And here we can see my profile avatar photo, and more importantly, my name. Now at the moment, it reads Kitty Doe Admin, which is my username. So you can imagine that we don't want to show the visitors of our website our username here. It would make much more sense to show them our real name. So let me show you how to customize this. If we jump into the admin dashboard, and then in the left-hand sidebar, look for users. Okay, and then on this screen, we will see a list of all registered users within our website. Now, obviously, at the moment, we just have the one, my main admin account. So go ahead and click on it. And from this screen, I want to draw your attention to this name area. All right, so you can see that the username field is grayed out because we cannot change that. That's the username that you chose at the very beginning of this course, and once you choose that, it's really set in stone. However, we can input a first name, a last name, and a nickname. So let's try this out. For first name, I will say Kitty, because I'm pretending that my cat is the author of this website. For last name, I will say Doe, Kitty Doe. And for nickname, I will say Kitty the cat. Okay, and now that we've entered content for these three fields, here's the important part. Now, down here within this display name publicly as, within this field, now we can choose how we want to display our name on the front end of our website. So we can choose our username, our first name, our first and last name combined, our last name first and then our first name, or our nickname. So feel free to choose whatever you like. I'm going to choose my nickname, Kitty the Cat. Okay, then just scroll down to the very bottom of this page and click the blue Update Profile button. Okay, and now that we've made that change, if I jump back to the homemade French bread blog post, or any post for that matter, perfect. Now we can see that my author name gets displayed as Kitty the Cat. Okay, so we've completed our first goal. Now let's change gears and learn how to customize our avatar profile photo. So if I zoom in a bit, you can see that currently my profile photo is a cat. And you might be wondering how you can add an avatar like that to your account. I do want to stress the point that every theme is different, and I'm using the 2016 theme, which chooses to show my avatar and my author name, but depending on the theme that you're using, it might be placed in a different location or it might not be used at all. But if you're using a theme that supports avatars, let me show you how to add one. All you need to do is perform a Google search for Gravatar. Here is the official Gravatar website. It's gravatar.com. And from this website, you can create a free Gravatar account. So just like you would create a free account with services like Twitter or Facebook or Pinterest, you create an account with the Gravatar service. Now, creating and setting up your Gravatar account is very simple, very intuitive, so we don't need to walk through it together, but I do want to stress one key point. When you sign up for your Gravatar account, be sure that you use the same email address that you used for your WordPress administrator account. What I mean by that is if I jump back to my WordPress admin dashboard, and in the sidebar, if I click on users, so at the moment, you probably just have the one admin account of yours. So whatever email address you used for that account, be sure you use that same email address when you create your Gravatar account. As long as that email address lines up and matches, you don't need to do anything else. WordPress will automatically look for your email address within the Gravatar service, and it will begin pulling in your profile photo. Alright, so now you know how to associate an avatar with your user account. Feel free to pause this lesson and go create a Gravatar account right now if you'd like to. And now let's change gears and learn how to create new user accounts within WordPress, right? Because maybe we want to invite a friend or a family member or a coworker to help us manage the website. Maybe we want multiple authors on the website. It's super easy to set up, so check this out. Let's jump back to our admin dashboard, and in the sidebar, when we hover over the users option, within this pop-out menu, we see an item named Add New. So go ahead and click on Add New, and then from this screen, we just need to fill in a bit of info about our colleague or friend or family member that we want to invite. So first, let's give them a username. In my case, since I'm acting like my cat is the main administrator of the website, I will pretend that my cat is inviting me to contribute. So for the new username account, I will say Brad, then enter the new person's email address. And you can fill out these fields, but they are not required. Now, when it comes to the password for this new account, WordPress will generate a really long, secure password for us automatically. If you want to see the password so you can keep note of it, just go ahead and click the Show Password button. Otherwise, you can just make sure that this box is checked, and then WordPress will send the new user an email with an activation link they can click, where they can immediately choose their own new password. Now, before we click this Add New User button, I want to bring your attention to this role field, because this is perhaps the most important thing on this screen. So when I click on this field, I can choose between 5 different options: subscriber, contributor, author, editor, and administrator. Now in just a moment, I will explain what each of these 5 options means in detail. But before we jump into that, I just want to say that this field is basically just asking you the question, how much do you trust this new person that you're inviting into your WordPress? Okay, and then based on how much you trust that person or how much faith you want to place in that person, you choose a role level accordingly. So now let's go through these options one by one. I'm actually going to go through them in the opposite order that WordPress lists them because I think this makes more sense. So let's start with administrator. What does that mean? Well, that's basically full access and control of literally everything within your WordPress website. That's the role that your current user admin account has, right? Throughout this course, you have been the administrator, so you have full rights and privileges to change anything. Unless you really truly trust someone and they have great technical skills, I probably wouldn't grant them full administrator access. Okay, let's move on to the editor role. So an editor has permissions to create and edit any post. So they can create their own posts, they can edit and change other people's posts, and they can fully publish the content up live onto the website. Next, let's talk about the author role. So an author can create and edit their own posts, but they cannot edit any other posts that were created by other people. So an author has a little bit of independence. They can create a draft for a post, and then indeed they can also publish that post live up onto the website. But they're kind of locked into their own sandbox because they can't make changes to any other author's posts. Next, let's talk about the contributor role. A contributor can create a draft for a post, but they can't actually publish it live up onto the website for the whole world to view. So the contributor role is a great option if you want someone to help write guest posts for your website. They can sign in and create rough drafts for posts, but then it's up to an editor or an administrator to review their post and finalize it or publish it. Also, once an editor or an administrator does indeed publish a contributor's post, From that point forward, the contributor cannot make changes to it. So the contributor just creates the rough draft, and then once it gets published, it's out of their hands. At that point, it's up to the administrators and the editors to make any future changes to the article if necessary. And finally, let's talk about the subscriber role. A subscriber can't really do anything. They can't even create rough drafts for blog posts. All the subscriber can do is sign in and change their first name, last name, and nickname. That's it. You might be wondering why the subscriber role even exists. Well, it's outside the scope of this course, but when you get into more advanced things like e-commerce, or if you try to create the next big social network like Facebook, there are plugins that can help you create those sorts of things within WordPress. And in those types of cases, advanced plugin developers can do some pretty creative things with the subscriber role. But within the context of this course and what we are trying to achieve with user accounts, we don't have any real need for the subscriber role. Now that we've gone over these 5 roles, let's get back to the task at hand. So remember, I'm pretending that my cat is creating a new user account for me. And when it comes to the role, let's say that my cat says that I can be an editor. All right, and then I will click the Add New User button. And now, from this main users screen, here's the list of all registered users, and there are now 2 of them. Now at the moment, in this web browser, I'm still logged in as kittydoadmin, but just as an example, why don't I open up a new web browser and sign in as the Brad user? So here's a new browser window where I'm not signed in as anyone. We can tell that's the case because there's no black admin bar along the top. However, if I want to sign in with my new Brad account, all I need to do is go up into the address bar and add on /wp, and then I can either visit -login.php, so that would successfully take me to a login screen, or you can visit wp-admin. So adding either of those to the end of the root of your URL will do the trick. Both URLs will ask for the new username and password. So remember, my new username is Brad. And then behind the scenes, let me type in my password and then click login. Okay, so here's the admin dashboard as viewed by my Brad account. And remember, my new Brad account is not an administrator, it's an editor. And remember, of the 5 user roles, aside from administrator, editor is the next most powerful. So if we look at my left-hand sidebar, you can see that as an editor, I can create new posts, I can create new pages, and if I click on posts, I can even edit existing posts that were created by the administrator Kitty the Cat account. Now you might be wondering, what are the limitations of an editor account? Well, you'll notice that in my sidebar, I don't have a plugins option, nor do I have a settings option or an appearance option. Those are things that only administrators have access to. So that means as an editor, I can't customize the look and feel of the website. I can't change the design or the navigation menus, but I can add new content. So let's try that out right now. Let's just create a new post really quick. So I will click Add New. And let's imagine I want to create a new blog post named Chocolate Cake. For the content, I will just say lorem ipsum chocolate cake recipe will be placed here shortly. Check back soon. And then if I scroll down in the right-hand sidebar and look under categories, I will assign this post into the recipes category. And let's go ahead and publish this post. And now if I check out the front-facing portion of my website and click on recipes, here we see the newest post is by Brad. Here's my username and profile photo, chocolate cake. Now if we look closely, the author name uses a lowercase b for Brad. So that means it's using my username instead of my full name or nickname. So practice makes perfect. If we want to change the way this author name displays, we can just go back into the admin dashboard. In the sidebar, click on Profile instead of Users. It can be a bit confusing because administrators see the word Users in the sidebar, but editors, authors, contributors, and subscribers only see Profile. But anyways, go ahead and click on Profile. And if we scroll down a bit, you can enter in your first or last name or your nickname. So I will just change my nickname to Brad the Chef. And then under this display name publicly as field, change that to the nickname option. Then scroll down to the very bottom of this page and click Update Profile. And then if I jump back to the front-facing portion of the website and refresh, perfect. So now the author name reads Brad the Chef. And that's actually going to bring this lesson to a close. I hope this lesson encouraged you to collaborate with other people to create better and better content. Because even if you don't 100% trust someone, you can always assign their user account the contributor role, and then you will have final say as the owner of the website before anything gets truly posted onto your website for the entire world to view. There's no real limit to how many different user accounts you create, so feel free to invite and collaborate with as many people as you would like. Alright, now changing gears, in our next lesson, we will learn about a few miscellaneous but very important settings in WordPress that we can customize. It should be an eye-opening experience. Let's keep things rolling, and I will see you in the next lesson. Hello, everyone. In this lesson, we will learn about two settings, permalinks and pagination. So naturally, two questions come to mind. What in the world is a permalink, and what is pagination? We are going to answer both of those questions, and right now, let's begin with permalinks. Okay, so here's the home page of my website, and if I navigate to the Travel Archive page, and then click on the Trip to the Midwest post, I'm taken to the detail screen for just this one single post. And most importantly, if we look up in the URL bar, the address bar, this is the permalink or permanent link for this blog post. The idea is that this link will not change. So even if we changed the title of this blog post to my unbelievably amazing summer trip to the Midwest, even if the title changed, the URL should stay the same. So it would still be the root of our URL, and then the year that this post was created, and then the month, and then the date, and then the original title or slug. We want this URL to be permanent and set in stone because as search engines start indexing our website, and as we start sharing links to our posts, either via social media or email, we want those links to work even years into the future. Because nothing is worse than a 404 error screen. So let me show you an example. So if we linked someone to an incorrect URL, so if I just type a bunch of gibberish here and push enter, obviously WordPress has no idea which post I'm referring to here, so we see, oops, that page can't be found. Okay, and the idea is that if our links are permanent, hence the name permalinks, if they don't change over time, we don't need to worry about that page not found screen. Now you might be thinking that permalinks sound really simple, and you might wonder why I even bothered to bring them up. Well, what I want to show you now is that WordPress gives us the flexibility to change our permalink structure. So for example, maybe we don't want to include the year and the month and the date. Maybe instead we just want the root of our domain and then the title of the post. Or maybe we just want the root of our domain and then the year and then the post. So maybe we want to leave out the month and the day. You get the idea. There are countless different possibilities of how we could structure our permalink URLs. Let me show you what I mean. So if I jump into my admin dashboard, and in the left-hand sidebar, hover over the settings option towards the bottom, and within this menu, look for permalinks. Okay, now from this screen, we can choose between a few different settings. By default, WordPress chooses the day and name option, and that's the structure that uses the year and then the month and then the day, and finally the name or title of the post. But instead of that default option, we could use month and name. So that includes the year and the month, but leaves out the day. Or we can use my favorite option, which is post name. So you can see that that doesn't use the date at all. It's simply the root domain and then the title of the post. So if I click this post name, and then scroll down to the bottom and click Save Changes. We see this success message, permalink structure updated. And now if I jump over to the front-facing portion of my website and click on Travel, now when I click on Trip to the Midwest, take a look at the permalink. I like this option because this is fairly easy to type or remember, but it's totally just personal preference, so feel free to choose whichever permalink structure you like the best. However, I do want to stress that you should really stick with one permalink structure. So don't go around constantly changing your permalink options, right? Because the entire idea of a permalink is that it is a permanent link. It shouldn't change over time. So when your website is still relatively new and you don't have tons of content yet and you haven't really been sharing the post URLs on social media yet, and maybe the big search engines like Google haven't really had enough time to index your site yet, in the beginning it's okay to experiment with the different permalink options that we see here. But once your website has been around for a while, I don't recommend changing these settings. Also, it's worth mentioning that if you have an idea for a permalink structure and you don't see it here, right? So for example, maybe you want the root of your domain and then just the year but not the month or day, and then the title of the post. Well, we don't see that as an option here, so that's where this final option named Custom Structure can come into play. So for example, you will notice that as I click on these different options, this area right here changes each time. And what that's doing is it's showing us the code that WordPress uses to represent these example structures. So for example, when I click on day and name, here's the code that represents that, but we can customize that no problem. So if I just want the year and then the title or the post name, let's just delete month name and day. Okay, and then let's scroll down and click Save Changes. And now if I jump back to my website and refresh the category travel page and click on Trip to the Midwest again, perfect. The URL is simply my domain, and then the year, and then the title. So the idea is that you can really fine-tune whatever structure you want within this custom structure field. Alright, so at this point we understand what a permalink is and how to customize our permalink structure. Now let's change gears and let's talk about pagination. So first we need to ask ourselves, what is pagination? Let's begin by looking at an example of pagination in action. From my home page, if I click on the recipes link, behind the scenes before this lesson, I created a bunch of new recipe posts. So dried apple chips, orange scones, banana waffles, blueberry cinnamon, you get the idea. And if I keep scrolling down, after we scrolled by 10 blog posts, now down here we have the option to go to the second page of posts. So this screen that we're on right now showed us the 10 most recent recipe posts. And if we want to see the older posts, we need to click on to page 2. Okay, and that concept of only showing a certain amount of posts per page, instead of just showing all posts on a single screen, that's referred to as pagination. We are splitting up the results into multiple pages. So each page shows 10 posts. So right now I'm on page 2 of the recipes archive, and if I scroll down to the bottom, I can click to go back to page 1. Okay, now by default, WordPress will include 10 posts per page. But we can customize the way pagination works. So instead of 10, what if we want there to be only 3 posts per page? And then users would need to click to go to the next page to see the next 3. Well, that's super easy to set up. So if we just jump to our admin dashboard and look in the sidebar under the settings option, within this menu, look for reading. And on this reading settings screen, we're looking for this blog pages show at most field. By default, it's set to 10, but we can just change this to 3 or any other number that we'd like, and then click Save Changes. And now let's jump back to our front-facing website and click on Recipes again. So now we see dried apple chips, orange scones, banana waffles, and then we have to go to the next page to see the next 3. So page 2 includes blueberry cinnamon scones, berry medley, feta chicken salad. If we want the next 3, we have to go to page 3. You get the idea. So this is totally personal preference. It's completely up to you how many posts per page you want to use. And I encourage you to experiment with different values on this reading settings screen. And that's actually going to bring this lesson to a close. Let's keep things rolling, and I will see you in the next lesson.